Now it's the Ballon d'Or tonight, so here to talk through the names in the frame and all things European football is Andy Brassell. Pleasure to have you with us, Andy. Let's get straight to it. Look, Rodri won it last year. If we're looking at the likely candidates from the Premier League this year, Mo Salah would seem the most likely. What are his chances then?
I don't think particularly high, if I'm being particularly honest, Bella, because I think the two favourites are pretty clear. The two guys who ruled the Champions League last season, Ousmane Dembele of Paris Saint-Germain and Lamine Yamal of Barcelona. Now, I guess it's very much a post-Messi and Ronaldo sort of field. It's all a little bit more objective, I suppose, because the idea is before it was whoever scored the most goals out of those two and whoever won the Champions League at the end of it, pretty much. Whereas I think we've moved on a little bit from there. And I guess Ousmane Dembele is the obvious choice in so many ways because PSG got to the final of the Club World Cup having already become European champions and won the Champions League. But having said that, Lamine Yamal, it wasn't just that he went on from winning the Euros with Spain. It's not just that he got Barcelona all the way to the Champions League semi-final, and they probably should have been in it. And he had so many memorable matches on the way at such a young age. I guess it's just the way that he makes people feel. When people, who are, I guess, a bit hard bitten by football, look at him and they think, actually, it's all new again. I've never seen this before. This is a wonderful thing to see. And he just seems to take it all in his stride. And I think that's something that in the sort of stat fest of Messi and Ronaldo, amazing as they were, that was something that we lost a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. We'll come on to Yamal in just a moment, but I wanted to ask you a bit more about PSG because they're not actually going to be at the ceremony because, of course, their game against Marseille has been rescheduled for tonight. However, Dembele is actually injured, so maybe he might be there. Real Madrid could also stay away once again. Do you feel like there is a bit of a fear that the ceremony is being overshadowed by who's not there rather than who is?
Yeah, to an extent. And I guess the injury to Ousmane Dembele, even if PSG are furious about it because it happened on international duty with France, is kind of serendipitous for the ceremony because, of course, the game between Marseille and PSG, the biggest game in France, Le Classique, that was postponed yesterday because of storm warnings in the Marseille area. And the rule book of the French league says if extreme weather causes a game to be postponed, it has to be played on the next possible day, which is tonight. Now, obviously the league, because it gives such incredible platform to Ligue 1, which is not usually something that we get at the Ballon d'Or, because PSG have had an incredible year as a team, not just as an individual. You know, there are several names who could be in the frame. You could include Marquinhos, Hakimi, Kvaratskhelia, who won 2 leagues last season with Napoli and PSG, as well as the Champions League. It's completely annoying that they're being forced to play it on this day. But Marseille have drawn a hard line in the sand. Now, of course, they're big rivals with PSG. And the league, it seems, have asked them, well, could we push it to the Tuesday? And they're like, no, we're not going to step aside. It's our game. We want to play it. Our fans are ready to play it. And they don't want to play it later in a couple of months' time because then PSG might have all their injured players fit. So, clearly Marseille's interest is to themselves, which is fair enough. And they want to play as soon as possible. And they said to the league, if you try and bump it to the Tuesday, we're going to take legal action against you. So that's why they've had to have it tonight, even though, as we say, Dembele will be there. All those other players won't be. And, of course, Luis Enrique won't be there as well.
Yeah, so a lot of factors in play there, I guess. What about Harry Kane? Any chance that he'll be in the running? Because his scoring record at Bayern remains incredible, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you know what, Bella, it's so much more than that. I think you can tell by the way that people have taken to him at Bayern. He's a leader in every possible way. I think having Thomas Müller sort of fighting his corner from the off and saying, I want this guy on the team council before he could even speak a word of German, I think was really important. But it's his professionalism, it's his all-round game. If you look at the fact that he scored 7 in the last 3 games, and he could have had a load more because he's been that imperious against Hamburg and against Chelsea in particular, not to mention the hat-trick against Hoffenheim at the weekend, which puts him on the brink of an incredible record. If he scores 2 next Friday night against Werder Bremen in the home game that Bayern have, which you would kind of back him to do, he gets to 100 goals and he would be the fastest player to reach 100 goals with one club in the top 5 leagues, beating a record that's currently held jointly by Cristiano Ronaldo and Erling Haaland in their times at Real Madrid and Manchester City. So, Kane's in his 30s now, but don't rule him out for next year I would say. I think for him to get that bit further and to get into Ballon d'Or contention, I think realistically, you're looking at a Bayern Champions League win. They would need to manage a treble, but they're so exciting in the front half of the team. Now, Kane has said, and he said to me a couple of weeks ago, actually, that we're a little bit thin in terms of squad. If they can get past that bit and get fair wind with injuries, then they genuinely are a contender for the Champions League. And then maybe we're having this discussion this time next year.
Yeah, so maybe Kane for 2026 then. Right, look, you mentioned Lamine Yamal, special player. Then there's also his teammate, Raphinha. How do you assess his chances?
He's got to be close. Top five for me. I think you could argue even that he was the best player in the Champions League last season. And really, it's interesting how many of these players are connected by Hansi Flick. You go back and see the influence that he had on individual players at Bayern, like David Alaba, like Alphonso Davies, bringing out parts of them that they didn't think were there. And I think it's the same with Raphinha. He looked like a luxury signing for Barcelona when he went there. And he got turned into a vital player by Hansi Flick, put in a slightly more central position. And that's one of the reasons that they needed to get in Marcus Rashford. Deco, who's now the sporting director there, said, look, our main thing, I know people think we need defenders, but we need to cover for Raphinha and Lamine Yamal because they're our most important players. They can't play 60 games this season if we're going to go close to winning the treble again. And Raphinha, in terms of not just the goals that he's contributed, but what he is as a leader on the pitch and in the dressing room, he's been massively, massively important for Barcelona. And he's partly responsible, I think you can say, for the development of Lamine Yamal as well.
I wanted to ask you about Hansi Flick, actually, because Marcus Rashford was dropped from the starting lineup for Barcelona after arriving late for training. How does Flick tend to deal with disciplinary issues like that? Do you think he's going to draw a line in the sand there?
I don't think he's going to hold it against Rashford, Bella, because we've seen it before. Look, he's really strict, letter of the law. The fact is, Marcus Rashford was 2 minutes late for the meeting yesterday, and he was dropped from the starting lineup, despite that brilliant game at Newcastle in the week. But he's done it before, and he's done it with big players. He's done it with Raphinha. He's done it with Jules Koundé, and then he's just put it behind him. The players have put it behind them, and they've gone again. I guess the problem is, from the Marcus Rashford perspective, if he wants to become a starter for Barcelona, it's come at quite a bad time because having been left out, they brought Ferran Torres back in. He scored twice against Getafe last night and was brilliant. And apart from Lewandowski, is the best centre forward in the squad. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Now, look, Rashford was signed as a wide player, but he showed in the Newcastle game that he can work in central positions as well. So if he wants to find himself a regular spot, and I don't think we can ever expect him to start every game for Barcelona, but if he wants to find himself a regular spot, he needs to seize every single opportunity. So it's an unfortunate time to be left out, though he did come in for Raphinha at half-time and set up the third for Dani Olmo.
OK, I wanted to get a word on the Bundesliga from you this weekend. Scotland's Ollie Burke with a hat-trick for Union Berlin. He hasn't played for his country in, 5 years? But this will certainly make Steve Clarke sit up and take notice, won't it?
Big time. There's no doubt about it. A hat-trick away at Eintracht Frankfurt as well, one of the best teams in the division. Of course, they come off a hard Champions League Thursday night. But if you look at these goals as well, they prove what Ollie Burke is all about. You get the ball in front of him, he's quick. And these are ice-cold finishes as well against really good opposition, helping Union to a 4-3 win. Now, I think what helps Union and helps Ollie Burke this season is the fact that they're playing far more openly under Stefan Baumgart than they did before. They're known for being quite defensive. They've let in a ton of goals already this season, 7 in the last 3 games, but they've gone there, given a really, really tremendous performance. And when he's got 2 strikers like Ilic and Ansa, who are really, really good on the ball, can set him up as well. That pace on the counter-attack, I think, is going to help him cash in, look really good, and then he'll be knocking really hard on the Scotland door.
Andy, always great to get your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.